There it is. That's the title page. Yay. Next, please. All right, qualities of movement, the how and the why. These are quotes from Michael Chekhov's texts to the actor and on the technique of acting. I've given you the page numbers and I've given you the exercise numbers as they appear in the book, so you will easily be able to find this information. Here are some quotes. Do a series of wide, broad, but simple movements. Involve and utilize your whole body with sufficient strength. Our primary aim is to penetrate all of the parts of the body with fine psychological vibrations. And here are quotes that I know you've heard before. Now I begin my movement, which creates a form, a movable form. In all these movements, preserve the sensation of strength and inner power flowing through and out your body, like little pieces of art. The result of such exercises will be that you will gradually feel yourself inwardly richer and outwardly freer, and recognize in the four suggested movements 4 elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Next. Thank you. The first quality of movement is molding, and it is associated with the element earth. Here is what you will be doing as we practice. Imagine the air around you as a medium which resists you. Mold the space like a sculptor. Think of the beginning and the end. Mold a thicker, heavier substance around your body. Each movement must leave an outline in your surroundings. The meaning lies in the psychological power of molding, of overcoming the imaginary resistance. Movements are clearly differentiated from one another. The next quality of movement is flowing, which is associated with water. I've also noted that it's cited in the text as floating. Movements are floating in space, merging into one another. Flow like big waves. Imagine the air around you as water. Every movement is slurred into another in an unbroken line, neither a beginning nor an end. Movement must be wave-like, the supporting surface of a wave. Next. The third is flying, and the element is air. Imagine your whole body flying through space. Inwardly, a feeling of soaring aloft. Imagine the air around you as a medium which instigates your flying movements. Imagine that your whole body has the tendency to lift itself from the ground, sustain, fly away into space. And the last is radiating, and that is connected to the element fire. Send the rays from your body into the space around you. Imagine that the air around you is filled with light. Souls can be made manifest through powerful radiation. Imagine that invisible rays stream from your movements into space in the direction of the movement itself. Try to radiate and send out the inner activity, air filled with radiant light. Next. So here's a list of the Chekovian tools and principles that we'll explore today. Notice that our lesson, while it's on the qualities of movement, molding, flowing, flying, radiating, you can't help but do those without doing these others. And I think it was Jamie who pointed out before, the same principle holds true in staccato legato. You can't help but explore so many of the principles. So here's a lovely list of some of the things that we will be touching on in addition to the qualities of movement. Next. All right, why yoga for a Chekhov acting practice? Stay-at-home orders, self-quarantining. It really can create an opportunity, a gift, for extensive, repetitive, solo artistic self-exploration. I'm studying the intersection of my own Iyengar yoga practice with the principles and exercises of the Michael Chekhov acting technique. This is a disclaimer. It is as I understand them both. I have developed today's 20 pose yoga sequence specifically to highlight facets of at least 10 Chekhov principles and tools. And this series also prepares me physically and mentally to then launch into my daily staccato legato exercise and further creative work. Next. How yoga can influence a Chekhov practice. What follows are things that are already inherent in a yoga practice, and they are so applicable to what we do in the acting studio. So these are words and principles that you would hear in an Iyengar yoga classroom. Concentration, breath control, radiating, energy, which is prana, ideal center or the light within, and this idea of crossing a threshold into work. Yoga is a physical practice that supports form, ease, beauty, repetition, strength, polarity, and tempo. And yoga is a spiritual practice that supports awareness of yourself and of others, empathy, recognizing truth, self-restraint, self-discipline, living in the present moment, and the ability to surrender to a higher power. Next. Here's a list of the yoga poses that we'll be using. I don't need to read through them now, but I've listed them all in case you want to go back, look at the recording, and see what we did. Thank you. Next. Again, these are the props. We've already gone over this. Next. And here's a list of the texts that I used either to quote or to create the lesson. So you have the first two being the Chekhov textbooks, Leonard Petit's Michael Chekhov Handbook. Gita Iyengar is the daughter of BKS Iyengar, and that was her book, Yoga in Action. And then this last book is Sergei Cherkassky, and it's called Stanislavski and Yoga. And he is a Russian academic, so I found a lot of interesting principles and history in that book. Great, I think that's the last slide. Yes, it is. Thank you so much. So I hope that that was a good refresher or reminder of what the qualities of movement are. And now we're going to do a little bit of yoga. So I'm going to ask Catherine to cue up the video at this point and prepare, but it's going to have its sound muted. And I will be verbally coaching you through this live. This recording moves kind of quickly from one pose to the next. You could easily do the same series on your own and take a lot longer in each pose and tool. But it's meant today just to introduce you to the possible connections between Chekhov and yoga, and to adapt our acting practices to our much smaller spaces, since many of us are isolated at home and don't have access to studios, to touch on several different ideas and tools, and to warm up and activate the actor's mind, body, and spirit. If at any time during the video you get confused and you don't know how to put your body into the pose or the form, that's okay. Just do your best. Be safe and take care of your body, stay positive, and remember joy. Notice that we will begin this exploration in a seated position. So I invite you to take a seat on your blankets, on your mat. Your blocks should be on or near the mat as well, one for each hand, or your chair placed directly behind your mat. And make sure that you can still see your screen if possible. So that's asking a lot, but hopefully we can get that all together. All right, Catherine, if you're ready, if you would please begin that video.
All right. Just a moment here. I'm going to take a minute to make sure everyone else is muted.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. All right. Here we go.
Thank you. All right. So here we are in a seated cross-legged position on the floor, and we will begin by activating ideal center. I'm using the yoga hand position called prayer, but you can also rub your hands and place them against your ideal center as we are accustomed to doing. The idea is to be connected, to remind yourself through physical contact on the exterior of your form that you have a light within. an energetic creativity source that's filled with radiant light and energy called the Actor's Ideal Center. I invite you to close your eyes and I will coach you through this first pose. Begin to concentrate on your breath. Follow the air as you receive it into your lungs, and then follow it as you exhale your breath into the space. Allow your inhalation to fill your form, and notice as you exhale that you are also radiating energy out into the space. Note the separation of the inner from the outer, and your skin, which is the membrane between the two. Now I invite you to release sound on your next exhalation. In yoga, this would be the sound Om, but if you prefer, the sound can be an audible and open-mouthed sigh on the word Ah. And repeat this sound several times. And as you do, feel the vibrations in the contact of your hands to your chest. Radiate energy and light from your ideal center out into the space as you exhale. Please open your eyes and feel free to look at your screen to now follow along as we move through centers. We'll begin with staff pose and the image of a stick. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Bring your focus and your concentration to your head, your thinking center, and its particular straight and linear quality. Scoop your hands up above your head with the impulse for movement coming like an arrow from your thinking center. Flex your feet, aerate your toes. And now clasp your hands, interlace your fingers, and stretch them overhead again, feeling the sensations in your head, moving like a stick. Now straighten your fingers, point your toes, sharpen your stick. And now repeat your interlaced fingers with your opposite hand in front. Repeat, reaching up with arms like arrows, toes pointed. Lower the arms towards your toes and begin to lean forward, led by your thinking center. Grab your toes or your calves or your thighs and let your head lead your body's movement towards your feet. Let your stick perhaps become a club. Feel the sensation and radiate. Now we'll use the cobbler's pose and the image of a ball. Bring the soles of your feet together in front of you and feel your sits bones connecting to your blankets on the floor. Bring your focus and your concentration to your hips, your willing center, and its particular impulses of doing, of always being in motion. Begin to rock yourself from side to side, rolling your hips along the floor, and see if you can feel the sensations of motion and action coming from your willing center. Once your body understands the essence of the ball, shift to feeling the movement inwardly and allow yourself to stretch forward and down, still with the energy radiating from the hips. Now we'll use the extended wide angle pose and the image of a veil. Separate your legs into a comfortably wide V, still perched on your blankets, and bring your focus and concentration to your heart, your feeling center, and its particular impulses of flowing, indirect motion, easy and yielding. Allow yourself to imagine being this veil. Find perhaps a wind to blow the veil out over one leg, always allowing for the impulse for movement to come from the feeling center. Now allow the wind to raise the veil arm up and over your head. Coming back to center, and repeat to the other side. Note the sensation of this quality of movement and how it might be different from the stick and the ball. And now allow the feeling center to float gently out front. Bringing your arms between your feet. And then return with the energy radiating from the heart. Next, we'll work with polarity. If you're using blocks, please bring them forward now. And we'll be moving from down to up. So move yourself into a squatting position in the center of your mat. Have your hands planted firmly on the floor in front of you for stability. And now lower your head to your knees, forming the gesture of close, but keeping your hands on the floor. Feel the sensation of being closed. Now radiate your energy in a downward direction into the floor beneath your feet and hands, feeling the sensation of down. Begin to slowly raise your hips up, using your hands for support, keeping your knees bent. And feel that sensation of a legato rising up. Either using your hands on the floor or your support blocks or your chair seat, open the backs of your legs by straightening them fully. And open the spaces between your vertebrae. Now prepare yourself to continue to rise up with soft, bent knees. Slowly roll yourself up into a standing position. The last thing to come up is your head. And now roll your shoulders back. And begin to lift your arms straight overhead, stretching your body, reaching and radiating your energy into the upward direction, feeling the sensation of up in mountain pose. Now let your arms fall slowly open to the sides in an open gesture. And step and spread your legs open as well. Radiate the energy and sensation of open into your space. From the gesture of open, please move your toes to point forward and bring your extended arms to shoulder level. The next section explores flying. We're going to do a series of poses to the right and then repeat them to the left. Remember to use your props for stability. Keeping your upper body facing forward, turn your feet to face right. Feel the air around you as a strong wind guides you into triangle pose. Reach with your right arm and bend down to the side. Fly. Your hand can be on your block, the chair seat, the floor, just not your knee joint. Allow the wind to help you now to fly back to your upright position and bend the right knee into warrior two pose and gently turn the head to look out over the right arm. Breathe. Feel the sensation of flying over the treetops. Now shoot like an arrow into the right space. Place your right hand on your block or chair and reach your left arm up, flying into the air above you. Bring your left arm next to your head and fly like an arrow. Radiate the sensation of flying. This next pose is a little more complicated. It's called half moon, but if you're able, bring yourself to a balancing position on your right leg and your right hand block. Your left leg is lifted and raise your left arm high overhead. Imagine yourself as the moon flying through space. Bring yourself back down to the triangle base. Extend your back. And now extend that top arm back up into the full triangle position. Rise back to the first extended hand and foot position and get ready to repeat these poses, flying and radiating into the left direction. Now you're in mountain pose, standing with your arms at your sides, feet together. Now expand into extended hand and foot. Turn your feet to face left. Feel the air again as a strong wind guides you into triangle pose. Reach with your left arm and bend down to the side. Fly. Look around you and feel the sensation of flying. Allow the wind to help you to fly back to an upright position. Now bend the left knee into warrior two. Look out over the left arm and feel the sensation of flying over the treetops like crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Now shoot like an arrow into the left space. Place your left hand on your block or your chair and reach your right arm up, flying into the air above you. Bring your right arm next to your head and again, fly like an arrow. Radiate the sensation of flying, letting your breath be the air. And here comes that more complicated half moon. Balancing on your right leg and right hand block, lift your left leg and raise your left arm high overhead. Imagine you are the moon, flying through space. Bring yourself back down to the triangle base and extend your back. And now reach that arm back up into full triangle position. And rise back to the first extended hand and foot position, bringing yourself to mountain and getting ready to mold. I've turned around in the video since this next pose happens in the backspace, but you should stay facing forward for this. Stand firmly in mountain with your arms extending strongly towards the floor. Imagine the space around you transforms from air to earth, to wet clay. So there's a resistance to your movements. Remember to maintain ease in your form. Rolling your shoulders forward, bring your hands together behind your back and gently mold your left hand up between your shoulder blades. You can also simply place the back of your hand against your lower back. Be safe. Mold your right hand up above your head and leave an impression in the clay as you slowly bend your arm, bringing the hand behind your back. Press your fingertips into your back, wherever they are, on the head, the neck, the back. Gently mold the bent elbows through the clay, like the giant wing joints of a bird, leaving impressions in the earth as they move. Radiate and feel the sensation of this molding bird. And now release the arms, slowly molding them back into the mountain pose. Bend your knees, roll your shoulders back in a molding fashion. Now we'll repeat molding cow's face pose to the left. Roll your shoulders forward, bring your hands together behind your back, and gently mold your right hand up between your shoulder blades. Remember to be safe. Mold your left hand up above your head and leave that impression in the clay as you slowly bend your arm, bringing the hand behind your neck. Press your fingertips into your back, wherever they are. Be aware of your back space. Gently mold the bent elbows through the clay, again, like the giant wing joints of a bird. Radiate and feel the sensation of molding. Now release the arms, slowly molding them back into mountain pose. Bend your knees, roll your shoulders back, and we'll leave animal and move into vegetable with tree pose. This is a balance pose, so find your support should you wish it, the chair, the wall. With the guiding image of a tree, turn your right leg out to the side, bend the knee, and bring the sole of your right foot to meet your thigh. You may also place your foot on your calf or your ankle, just not your knee. Mold your hands into prayer position or with one hand on your support, and mold the right hand through the earth and into the up space. The left arm can be bent with the left hand connecting behind the head, or you can bring it straight up, or it can be using your support. Balance. Feel the sensation of the tree molding in space and radiate. Now begin to slowly release tree pose, remembering to mold your way back down to the floor. Restabilize yourself in standing mountain pose, and we'll repeat tree with molding into the left direction. So this time, turn your left leg out to the side, bend the knee, and bring the sole of your left foot to meet your thigh, calf, or ankle, avoiding your knee. Mold your hands up into prayer position, or with one hand on your support, and mold the left hand through the earth and into the up space like a growing branch. Again, the right arm can be bent or straight or using your support. Experience the sensation of balancing. Mold gently in space. Now begin to slowly release tree pose, remembering to mold your way back down to the floor. Bring yourself back to mountain, and now for mineral. This time, use that image of a mountain to become the mountain molding in space. We will be moving into a wide-legged forward bend, so mold your way through the clay to grasp your blocks and move them for support in front of you, or you can move one of your chairs directly in front of you. Step one of your legs out widely to the side and begin to slowly walk your other foot out to the other end of the mat, heel by toe, noticing the feeling of resistance and the impressions left behind as you move. With legs extended, now we'll be extending the upper body down toward the floor. You can have the palms of your hands flat on the chair or on the blocks, or you can bring them to the floor. If you wish, you may bring the top of your head to the floor. Mold gently as a mountain. Feel the sensation and radiate into the down space. Now begin to bring yourself back up. Safely, slowly, molding your feet back in, using your hand supports. And now roll back up into mountain pose. Roll the shoulders back, extend the arms. And now we will transition to flowing using the element of water. Imagine that the clay of your mountain is replaced with hard packed sand. And now imagine that water begins to pour onto your head and into your form, wetting the grains of sand and making your form more movable. Begin to move your form with these wet grains of sand. Let a wave of water bring you to one end of your mat. Facing the other end, imagine that water pushes you from behind to the other end. Then water flows past you and through you as you're carried back to the other end, grains of sand leaving your form as you go. Flowing forward again, more sand washed away. And finally, water moving a water-filled form back to the end of the mat. One more pass to the top of the mat, and this time the water brings your arms high up into the space overhead, and then arms swing down toward the floor, and back up, and flowing back down, and up, and flowing down. This time place your hands on the mat and reach your feet back into downward dog, pushing your hips up into the water. If possible, swing your body down and raise your head and shoulders into upward dog. If not, just coming forward is good. Flowing hips back up into downward water dog and down into upward water dog. I call this section the water animals. And one more time, hips up. And this time, let your knees come down to the mat and experience the sensation of a water cat playing in the water. And now a water cow. Arch the back up through the water and back down through the water. And one more time, up through the water and down. Feeling the sensation of the water. Now bring your toes together behind you on the mat and sit back toward your feet with your arms extended in front of you in child's pose. Gently rock back and forth in the water. Let the water child play and be cradled by the water. Feel the sensation of flowing. Radiate. And now we'll bring our series today to an ending. So bring yourself upright into a seated position again and find yourself back in easy pose, cross-legged on the floor. Bring your hands to your ideal center and reconnect with the image of your fire within. We've been sharing that light and that energy each time we radiated during this series. But now let's concentrate solely on the experience of sending and sharing light in our space. Take the time to look around you, to radiate love and appreciation for your space, for your objects that help you, and radiate light towards something in your space that brings you joy